If all the water on Earth were 26 gallons, only 1/4 teaspoon of that would be non-frozen fresh water. The overwhelming majority of that is used for agriculture, leaving literally a drop for drinking, and of that drop, we have 20% right here in the Great Lakes. Our water is our future. Fresh water is quickly becoming the petroleum of the 21st century. Globally, water consumption is doubling every 20 years, more than 2 times world population growth. It's estimated that about 1/3 of the global population will not have access to adequate drinking water by 2025. The water shortage is not only impacting parts of the world, like Australia and China, but is also impacting places right here in the United States, in cities like Atlanta and Las Vegas. In a thirsty world, we live on the last great supply of fresh drinking water on Earth, the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes contain 6 quadrillion gallons of fresh water, 1/5 of the world's fresh surface water, and 95% of the U.S. supply. The Great Lakes can be a part of the North American water solution, but only if we clean them up and protect them. While seemingly endless, our water is vulnerable. Unfortunately, instead of functioning as an asset, our water currently is a liability. We have inherited a legacy of polluted water and riverfronts. This pollution not only hurts our future, it impacts current members of our community, a community that Buffalo Niagara Riverkeeper proudly fights for and serves.
It's a long journey from our house. Callie needs to walk to Niagara Street, which is a busy 4-lane highway with traffic whizzing by. And when she gets across the street, there's a brownfield cleanup site right there. Niagara Street has abandoned, in some cases boarded up warehouses, and before she even gets to the park, she needs to go under a major highway, across a bridge, and then by a sewage treatment plant. The park is often littered, there's drug paraphernalia, sometimes scattered around. It's a long journey for a child. This is a beautiful area. I think it's one of Buffalo's real jewels, and if it could be cleaned up and made more accessible to the residents of Buffalo, I think that would be a wonderful thing.
The picture behind me is of my nephew John. It's from a day at a creek that we had when he was probably 6 or 7 years old. Water has always been one of my favorite things to do with my parents and with my family. And so when my brother had kids, I wanted to share that magic with them. I took them out to Mill Road Park, which is a little tiny park in West Seneca, and Cazenovia Creek runs right through the park. And so it's beautiful. There's a huge bluff there. The water is bright and sparkling, and there are trees everywhere. It's really kind of a little oasis in a fairly developed suburb. And we would go on dry days and we would go on wet days. And on the wet days, the kids loved it the best. They were just some of the best memories we ever had. And they'd see me and they'd say, "When are we going to the creek next?" And I'd say, as soon as we can, because it was a really special time and was one of the benefits of living in Buffalo. So that summer I went to work with Erie County Environment and Planning at my first water protection job. And strangely enough, it was on Cazenovia Creek, and we did a bunch of bacteria sampling. The bacteria levels at Mill Road Park were off the charts. And I was shocked and mortified because I had been taking my niece and nephew to a place where it really wasn't safe for them to swim. And so we stopped going. They would see me again and say, "Aunt Julie, when are we going to the park? When are we going to the park? When are we going to see the creek?" And I had to say, "You can't go there because the water's polluted." And so that was really the start for me of realizing that there was something wrong that we needed to fix.
Buffalo historically is a very industrialized city, and there were lots of chemical plants, lots of different industries on the banks of the Buffalo, Niagara, and several of the other rivers. From those plants, from those industries, a lot of pollution and a lot of discharges have gone into the river. And I mean, this is 100 years ago or more, or even less. But because of the nature of the chemicals, they've remained in the sediment of the water, and they move up through the food chain into the fish. And people who are hungry, people who have no other alternative to eat, they're surrounded by water, you're poor, you need to feed your family, what are you going to do? You're going to fish. And these people eat a disproportionate amount of fish, which if this place were clean, if it weren't contaminated, would be okay. People who don't have cars, people who can't get on the bus line to go down to Broderick Park, let's say they live on the east side and they need to feed their family, they're going to go to the Buffalo River. And the Buffalo River has PCBs, dioxins, murics, all these different things in it, so does the Niagara River. And they eat it, and it affects them in such a way it actually builds into their fat and affects women and children really disproportionately, because it affects, from the women, if they want to have babies, it goes into the baby's bodies and it affects their neurological development, short-term memory, also the development of their organs. The Buffalo River is such a dynamic environment, and because of our past abuses, we now are given the responsibility of cleaning up these PCBs and all these different chemicals that are so pervasive, because they affect the entire system. And there's heavy metals and there's all these different things, and this is a number of years in the making. Hopefully the ecosystem will kind of balance itself out and the fish population will come back and people will be able to really access this water and you know, commune with it, because I mean, this is so vital to our species, is our connection with the water. I hope that if we really embrace and build our city back in a sustainable way, that that more people will come back. I think Buffalo is really an amazing place because the culture is so strong and the love of the city is so strong, especially the people who stayed here. Because the people who are here want to be here, you know, and they're fighting hard for this city.